Welcome you to the one, the only Hog Talk podcast, our first podcast of 2023. We are part of the Believe and Buzz Radio networks, where you can hear us on all podcast platforms, as well as 106.7 Buzz 2 in Central Arkansas. So like, rate, and review our podcast, and you can also check us out on our YouTube channel. I'm your host, Porter Hayes of Sports and Culture Arkansas, and alongside me is Jacob Davis of Arkansas Fight. All live shows are presented by Arkansas Brewing Company in downtown Ozark, Arkansas, and Bet Online, the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports contests with first-to-market odds and lines. Bet Online continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. So head on over to Bet Online today, or use your mobile device to join and make your first sports pro bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, BLEV50, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. And Jacob, I tell you what, hope you had a very happy new year. Mine was really cool. I mean, I had to end up being a little DD last night because I had to work today, but had a really good New Year's. And I'll tell you what, when everybody says they finally wanted some good college football playoff semifinals, boy, did they deliver. Both games, starting with the Michigan TCU game that was back and forth. And then, of course, the Georgia-Ohio State game. And before we get deep down into them, the whole missed field goal and timed with the ball dropping in New York City live has to be one of the craziest coincidental things I've ever seen in sports. As it goes wide left, goes into the stands or into the end zone, the ball drops in New York City and confetti's going everywhere. I thought it was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen in sports.
Yeah, I didn't get to stay up through the whole thing. I had got up at 4 a.m. that morning to go duck hunting, so I stayed up till, I think Ohio State had it well in hand in the third quarter, and I passed out. I did not wake up until about 6:30 this morning. Anyways, that was I was able to go back and watch recap of the game. I was really impressed by both games. I mean, obviously the Peach, or not the Peach Bowl, but the Fiesta Bowl. Man, how many games over the years have we seen where the Fiesta Bowl just delivers? It's just like the Holiday Bowl. The Holiday Bowl always delivers, man. But yeah, it was a really cool thing. I saw that you shared it on your Twitter. And it was really cool. I hadn't seen anything like that. Coincidental. I mean, you saw Ryan Seacrest probably watching it on his phone while the ball was dropping too. So that was really neat.
Yeah, and just the fact that, TCU, a team that a lot of people didn't think belonged because they're not one of the big, they're not an SEC team or a Big 12 or a Big 10 team, or, they caught a lot of flack. They lost to Kansas State, so everybody's like, well, they lose one game, they shouldn't be in there. Meanwhile, you got Alabama, who loses 2 games, and because they beat Kansas State, well, they should have been in. They should have been. So there's a lot of, bias when it comes to, you got to take care of business. You can't sit there and beat Kansas State in a bowl game, and we can't sit there and say, well, bowl games don't matter. Bowl games don't matter. And then you win your bowl game. We'll see. We should have been in from the get-go. Like, it doesn't go both ways.
No.
You should have took care of business.
Matchups matter. Matchups matter. And you sit there and compare opponents and stuff. That's what fan bases do. But you can't just sit there and say, oh, we annihilated Kansas State. Kansas State I mean, they beat TCU. It's a whole thing about matchups and familiarity with teams. Nick Saban is one of the best in college football when it comes to preparing, having a month to prepare for an opponent and be able to get a game plan together to go out and win a football game. No, I don't buy that. I think the 4 teams that deserve to be in the college football playoff made it, and that's it. And it provided us 2 of the best college football playoff games we've ever seen back to back.
And here's another thing. I mean, Alabama clearly was the better team, but
absolutely,
Kansas State handed them that game. You cannot not go for it on 4th and goal and only have, if you watch the play, you only had one option. Just throw it to that guy coming out of the backfield. You had one option. It wasn't like you had 3 or 4 guys in the end zone. And then what happened? Alabama scores.
Yep.
Then they come back from halftime. Let's kick an onside kick. Alabama scores. Next possession. Kansas State, before I blinked, before I even realized what was going on, it went from 10-7 to 35-10, like that. I mean, that's how fast things – and that's what we've talked about before. When you're playing that underdog role, you have to keep the hammer down. You have to keep the momentum going. And the moment Kansas State went for on 4th and goal and didn't, I said, that's ball game. That barbecue chicken. I mean, I put it up. It's going to haunt them.
When Bama hit that long run with Jahmyr Gibbs, that run after the catch, I said, "There's no way." I mean, Alabama. I mean, they're down 10-0, but I mean, that's ball game right there because you saw the difference in the size and the speed, and like you said, you have to keep the hammer down. You got to keep your foot on the gas, especially when you play a team like Bama. I mean, that's what the beauty of bowl season is all about, man. And you want to see the upsets, but yesterday, I mean, I believe that Alabama was gifted a win, or Kansas State gifted.
Yeah.
Gifted a win. I mean, I'm not saying like because Alabama, they won 45-20.
Yeah.
But Kansas State gave Alabama some easy possessions and were able to score off that. So
well, after the whole they missed the 4th and goal conversion, Alabama scores, and then Kansas State threw that interception. You could just see, even before they threw the interception, you could see that demeanor. The team was not playing with that same steam and stuff. But yeah, the college football playoffs, I am glad that it happened the way it did, because with the expansion of 12 teams, you've seen what it could be like with all. I mean, Bama ran away with it, but that kind of gives Bama a shot now. Did they belong in the 14 playoff? No. But if you would have had a 12-team playoff,
they belong.
You would have some good. We would have some good games. I mean, look at the bowl games this year. We'd had a lot of bowl games. So I think it was a good thing for college football, because now when the playoffs expand, you're going to have more interest. Because I'm telling you, that was the best I could. I didn't leave my phone or the TV. I mean, from 3:00 until midnight. So, but I will say one thing, and I know I've never really been one to publicly call anybody out or be one of those referee types, but I really want to talk about the Todd Blackledge deal and the statement he made. There was 25 seconds left in the game. The ball come down, and the TCU defender leaned in, lowered his helmet, and then dove into the Michigan player. Now, I'm not saying that that's the reason why, Michigan should have got the ball and scored and won. But his statement was, come on, guys, the game's over. You don't call that. I think that was a Bush League thing to say, especially when we're looking out for the safety of these players. And that was to the back of his head. But we caught a lot of flack on it. I didn't get to read a lot of the comments on our Facebook page, but a lot of people were saying, well, he didn't hit him in the head, or he did hit him in the head. But what people are forgetting is that rule, and the targeting rule, was for both players, the offensive player and the defensive player. If the offensive player lowers the crown of his helmet, it's to help defend him too. He led with the crown of his helmet. That should have been a targeting call. Whether it was or wasn't, or they didn't call it that, but it was his comments of, oh, come on, you can't call that, and then the guy immediately after him said, that was targeting, so I didn't see too much about it. I wish there would have been more said about it, because to me, that's textbook how we think about things. How many times, Jacob, in basketball or football, and well, man, you can't call that at that point in the game. You wouldn't call it at 3-2, or you wouldn't have called it with 2 minutes in the first quarter. Why would you call it now? That overrides thing, because that was a safety thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it doesn't matter what the circumstance was. If it's targeting, it's targeting. And that's like you said. I mean, you have to protect the players, and that's part of it. And I don't recall it actually being rule targeting. I think did they take the penalty away?
No, they did not rule it targeting. Okay. They reviewed it.
Had so many plays going through my mind right now. But yeah, that you have, there's a time and a place, and you don't say that on live TV. Like,
no,
you're taking, and Todd Blackledge, he's a former quarterback. Yeah. What's he thinking? I mean, he's a guy that, he took plenty of hits throughout his career. You got to think before you speak too, and that's part of it. Like, he literally was, kind of dumb to say that.
Yeah, and when he said it, I was like, did he really say that?
Yeah.
And then I took video of it, and I was like, he really did. And I was like, I don't know. It's just one of the things that, of all the things that we make big deals about, I think that was one of them that should have been made a big deal, because that shows me that's what people are thinking behind the scenes. Well, don't call that. Let that one slide. What if he would have hit him in the back of the head and knocked him out cold?
Yeah, you're not going to say it then.
Would have you had to change a tune if the dude was laying there? Yeah. I mean, it's just the fact that you can't say stuff like that. But then again, if that's how you really think, say what you want. I just thought it was really bush thing to say, but enough with the college football playoffs, and I know we're expanding to 12. Arkansas had a bowl game, thriller, defeating Kansas 55-53. Jacob, I know you had some thoughts on the game that we've seen, and leads, and I even said, hey, Bowl 2.0. I mean, so you've been stewing on this for a little bit, so I'll let you have the floor and air your grief.
I'm not.
2 years.
I'm not going to blame officiating for the way that game played out. That's so overblown. Okay, I don't care about how inconvenient your freaking Memphis trip was. Like, I don't care. Like, I only care about the product on the field. Okay, I'm not saying it was you. I'm not saying it was me. Like, I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of people on Twitter that just complained about the Memphis trip, how inconvenient it was. Okay, I get it. Okay, we know they're having water issues. Whole state of Mississippi is having water issues. But I'm talking about the game on the field where Arkansas gave up a 25-point lead. And you let off the gas in the third quarter, Porter. You let off the gas in the third quarter. And it felt like Arkansas's coaching staff was having amnesia, because they did the same thing 2 games earlier against Ole Miss. Like, I mean, I know that game was a different circumstances. It was at home, but you did the same exact crap that you did against Ole Miss and almost got your butt beat. And if it wasn't because of KJ Jefferson putting the team on his back and strutting his stuff to the end zone on every single consecutive play, like he said, it pissed him off. There's players that are wired differently. When you shut it down and you're up 25 and you shut it down, sometimes it's hard to flip that switch back on and go full speed ahead. And that's my only real criticism of Sam's and maybe Kendall's game plan throughout the game when it unfolds. It's because, these days in college football, the way offenses are engineered, like, you can't just let off the gas. You've got to continue to be threatening to score. Like, and Arkansas did that. They kind of flipped the switch back on with Landers right before he had that fumble. That wasn't a fumble. Like, he was, I mean, Arkansas was moving the ball in that possession, and if they would have scored, they'd gone up 18 again, and that would have been that. But they allowed Kansas to go and score and tie the game, and you forget about the calls, but at some point you got to think about, you can't shut it down when you're up that big anymore. That's just the way college football is these days.
Yeah, and Arkansas as a whole had 406 yards rushing, and Jalen Daniels had 544 yards passing and 5 touchdowns. I mean, torched
Yeah.
them. But you said KJ Jefferson put the team on his back. 130 yards rushing, and he had 2-something passing. Let me look and see real quick. But yeah, he definitely, I mean, he accounted for 400 and something yards of total offense. I mean, you can't sit there and say that he didn't put this team on his back. And that's what we have been needing all year long on the defensive side. Like, we need a dog like AJ on the defensive side to be like,
yes,
hey, guys, we're kind of slacking here. We need somebody to step up. He had 287 yards passing. And so that's what the team's been missing all year. But I will say, in not the defense of Sam Pittman and Kendall Briles, but you went into your team. I think Chuck Barrett said 51 players, 51 players that you took there. All right. I mean, that's a skeleton crew. But look at the guys who stepped up, the guys who got.
Oh my gosh, didn't they do great?
And people that you would have looked at their daggum avatar on the 2 deep or 3 deep, and they wouldn't have had a picture. Like, I mean, some of these guys didn't, play all game or all year, and they played in the game. That right
Washington.
There, as much as I've given flack to what I've said about Sam Pittman and proving himself, if you can get these cats to play for you and give it their all and not just, give up per se.
Yeah. They
could have easily given up, went in there, but that showed a lot to KJ. He did not want to end up this season with a 6-7 record.
No.
He wanted to. And you could feel it spread to the other team, and that's what it takes. Well, how many times did we say to the season, all you need is that dog to step up, and it will run through the whole team, and you need a player to do that. Coach speak, and coaches can sit there and fire you up.
Yeah.
That's only going to last you until you get on the field. So
look at some of those plays in overtime. Sorry. Look at some of those plays in overtime by the defense, like Chris Paul. You think about throughout the game, McAdoo just coming up big. And McLaughlin played well. I mean, those are your dogs. Those are the guys that you look for on defense. Pooh Paul, man, he was the leading tackler. Like he had lost Bumper Pool, Drew Sanders, all the guys that were in front of him, and he came out and showed how good of a linebacker he is and will be for Arkansas. You had guys like Jordan Crook, who had 7 tackles out of his linebacker position, a Duncanville, Texas product, man. Like, these guys had swagger. They had that pep in their step. Like, they were ready to go. They were ready to fight. And that's what this team, like you said, has been missing for so long, for so much of this season. Like, I remember, like, when the excitement that was going on during the Cincinnati game, like, guys on the defensive and offensive sides of the ball were high-stepping. Like, they had that motivation, that will to go out there and win. And it's swagger, man. You got to play with some swagger. You got to play with some confidence. I don't mind cocky. I don't mind it. Like, if I'm going to have you on my team, if I'm going to have you on my court playing basketball with me at the rec center, you better have some swag to you. I don't care if you miss 30 shots. If you got some swag on it, you're going to be on my team,
As long as you're producing. That swag don't mean nothing if you ain't producing.
That's right.
You got to talk the talk, walk the walk. You right. Like KJ. That dude, he can go in there right now and take my food off my plate at CJ's Butcher Boy Burgers because he earned that. You know what I'm getting at? Like, that's what he proved. Yeah, the dog.
McAdoo, he was doing that.
Yeah,
He
dude.
could be the next like that dude could be a dog on offense. He could be a dog on defense. Like when he stepped up in there and laid that boy out, he laid him to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the kind of guy and energy that you want to have on this team going forward. Because I don't know what was going on between over the past month. We saw the look and the expressions and body language on Sam Pittman, the dejection that he had. Man, you never saw that. I never sensed a point in that game where the energy and motivation was questionable in that Liberty Bowl. And I think a lot of it had to do is they got some of the rotten apples out of their roster. I feel like we can say that now because there's a mindset change on that team that I hadn't seen since early in the season, like maybe the Cincinnati game. Before things started swirling down, like there was some swagger on this team, kind of like the South Carolina game. Like it felt different.
Yeah, and it could be good and bad. I mean, when we say bad apples, I mean, there could be some that was warranted, but then there's again that there's some that's not. And I want to bring TCU back up. They had a good story about Duggan, the quarterback.
Yeah.
Hit 3-year guy and gets demoted and then gets his job back. He could have easily left and went in the portal or went and done his 4 games and left the school, but he didn't. That's what he chose to do. I'm not going to dog anybody. I said I'll never do. I'm never going to dog anybody for wanting to leave. That's their right. They feel like things ain't working out. Hey, go on. But I also will bring up South Carolina. And you had Shane Beamer had some guys that wanted into the portal and then had the audacity to ask him, hey, man, if I jump in this portal, can I still play in the bowl game? I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
I didn't hear this. Yes. Oh, my.
Like, the guys actually asked him. That's like going up and robbing the bank and be like, hey, can I keep that money I stole? I mean, it's ignorant. Like, why would you even think that, hey, man, I'm gonna go to another team next year?
That's not okay.
And I still play in the bowl game. No, you cannot. But that's the thing, like I say. I am a father of 3 boys. And I am sometimes not going to say nothing when they choose to do certain things, but they have to realize, and these kids have to realize, we're not going to say nothing for you leaving, but you got to realize there's consequences for everything you do. How did Mike Woods do when he went to Oklahoma? Did he really project himself up on an upward trajectory when he went to OU? No. I mean, if you go somewhere to better yourself. Go somewhere and try to work harder. I think he could have been well used here this year. We could have definitely used him. Things could have turned around, and he could have really helped himself out. But like I said, it's just it's when you leave. But then again, we seen what KJ can do, and hopefully, man, bless him that he can stay healthy all year next year. Because I'm telling you that if he is fully healthy, look what can happen with this team. Look what can happen with this program. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I do want to bring up Mike Irwin. I'm a lot of people. I mean, I didn't think it would take off as much as it did, but for him, and I asked him before anything because it was not it wasn't our post. It was his post, but I couldn't share it. So I copied and pasted it, but he was just saying, as long as he has covered this program, dude, he laid it all out there. And I want to say one thing. I mean, there was a couple, as any post that you put out there. There was a couple of negative comments and stuff like that. But for the most part, a lot of people were like, thank you. We needed to hear this. Thank you. We needed to hear this. Thank you. Please, this is what it should have been, but I really thought that what he said, and he laid everything out there, is all I'm going to say about it. And for him to put that out there, and it gives you, because here's the deal. How are you going to argue with the man that has covered the Hogs as long as he has?
45 years.
How are you going to sit there and say, well, I disagree with you, Mike? Yeah, go ahead and see how that works out for you. But it's
Mike is about as transcendent, like not transcendent, that's the wrong word, but a like, transparent guy as you'll find in the media. Like he tells it like it is. Like he will tell you the truth and won't lead you astray. And what he posted was pretty special. You're gonna have to find it on Facebook.
I got it.
And read it for yourselves for those people that are listening.
Yeah.
Because it's a long, it's probably 1,000 words. Like he probably could have wrote that for and put it on Hogville for that. That was
Well,
that was
and the thing is, Mike seems like a guy that how you react right after something, and then like 3 days later, you're like, you know what? That's what this seemed like, because he's like in 47 football seasons. In the 153 year of college football, there's never been anything like what is going on right now. You got the NIL, transfer portal, coaches getting new jobs and getting all this money. You know, throw this into the relatively new December period of signing in JUCO and portal players. And then he goes on to talk about Lou Holtz and what happened with all the players, 3 key players, and then he beat number 2 Oklahoma. And he says Sam Pittman lost 6 starters and many other players to the portals and opt-outs. And then trying to get ready for the Liberty Bowl, he had to hit some coaches to get some recruits because you're continuously recruiting. It goes on and on. But, I mean, it was just well said. And I messaged him and said, hey, man, if you don't mind, I'm going to use this. I just letting you know, because I like to share things and do things the right way. And, he said sure thing and gave me his blessing to share it. But it's just it really gave our fans that perspective of the sky's not falling in, which I mean, I'm gonna sit there. I'm not gonna say that I didn't, because I did at one point, because I wanted Sam and I wanted the team to prove it to me. Sometimes I need to see proof. I mean, because Jacob, I'm not like the diehard fan. I'm not this fan that has it here. I have it here when it comes to this football program and this, when the men's basketball team and the baseball team and the football team. I have it here, but my heart's not fully in it. It's not there for me. So I look at things a different way, and that's what makes our duo the way it is, because I can see things sometimes through a different set of lenses, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
just the way it is. But I really liked his perspective of it.
Yeah, and look, man, like I'm gonna go on for a little bit. We got 3 minutes before break, but with recruiting the way it is, like Coach Sam Pittman, he's not having to just recruit future players, like whether it's through the transfer portal or the high school ranks and JUCO ranks. He's having to recruit his own players on an annual basis. Like he's having to recruit all 85 players and kind of and tell them like where they fit. And right now, like this roster's, there may not be the whole 51 players that are on the roster right now. They may not be on the roster after spring. Like there's so many changes. It's such a fluid situation.
Well, and you lost
like
one.
I don't know, like Sam Pittman, he's gonna have. I mean, he's worth every penny of that $5 million. Because I don't want that headache. Like if you had to go out and recruit every single day, 365 days a year, and have to recruit your own players too, like it's just crazy to me. Like you can go make your $5 million. I'm fine working and making what I do. I don't want to have the gray hairs and the headaches of having to worry about it. Like I think Sam gets a lot of unjustified hate for it. I think a lot of football coaches around the country, get a lot of hate for it, and I don't think it's justified, because we're in a new world of college football.
People making $100 decisions. He's making $1 million decisions.
Yeah, like these guys. It's a different world, and people have to understand that they're still seeing through the lenses of 2017 prior to all those years of no early signing period, no transfer portal. Like it's so fluid now, and it's so different, and people have to take on the perspective of the new day and age. And it's hard. Like a lot of like the good people in the Baptist, they don't like change. And there's a lot of changes going on right now. And we're just going to have to accept it and go on.
Well, and a lot of it's a one-way street, though. We bless, and you're talking about the Baptist, and they accept everybody comes in for the first time, and you fill out that visitor's card, and you stand up and raise your hand. You're the first time there. They accept them into their family. Drew Sanders, Felipe Franks, all the ones that have come through, McLaughlin, Landers, Hazelwood, all the guys that come in. The fan base welcomes them with open arms. So when it comes to we're living in a new world, we are.
Yeah.
We're accepting the people coming in, but we're bashing the people leaving.
Absolutely.
And that's what it is. Everybody who's left, well, we didn't need him anyway, and this and that, and well, he was third string, or good riddance to him. But then if that person was at Oklahoma or at Texas, or somebody like Drew Sanders comes in, once a hog, always a hog, All-American, great guy, we love him, once a hog, he's going to go off. Well, he was a Razorback, which is okay, but we got to do it both ways. Same thing with coaches, guys. When coaches are they get into coaching, coaches are just as competitive as players.
Yep.
And they're trying to move up just like a player's trying to get to the NFL. They're trying to get their own job, but it's the same thing. We welcome the coaches coming in, but the ones that leave, don't let the door hit you on the way out.
And one more thing before we go, and you brought up the whole coaches thing, and we shared some news today that Scheer's likely going to be announced soon as the UNLV defense coordinator, and there was a lot of people just praising him. The guy developed talent at the linebacker position better than any linebacker coach at the U of A. And I've been following the Hogs since 2003. We haven't seen such a good group of linebacker play. He's going to go to UNLV. And there's some people on there that say, oh, man, what's going on the Hill? Oh, man, we're just getting all the weaklings out. No, these guys are working their way up. They're, when you're getting position coaches to move up to coordinator roles, like Dell Loggins, potentially Michael Scheer, and I think I'm forgetting somebody else.
Yep, before that, went to South Carolina.
Yeah. These guys are getting promotions to go and do things. I mean, it's not meaning that they're struggling or it's because Arkansas, the sky's falling at Arkansas. It's they're getting promotions to do better things. And we got to think of it that way too. And Mike Scheer was he was a hell of a darn linebacker coach, and we're going to miss him.
Well, we'll take a quick break, and we'll keep on this subject when we come back, because there's a few things to add to it and go on about it, and then we'll finish things up with the basketball team opening up against LSU and dropping their first league game. So we'll wrap the show up with that talk, but we're going to catch a break, and we will be right back.
Do you need those pesky stumps ground before the winter? Your pasture brush hogged, or need your driveway bladed? Here at Grind It Right Outdoor Services, we offer more than just stump grinding. We have recently expanded our business to include tractor work as well. So along with stump grinding, we offer bush hogging, land clearing, grading driveways, placing, and even spreading gravel. We are locally owned and operated, so call Danny today for a free quote at 205-377-2662 or 479-530-1641. Again, that is 205-377-2662 or 479-530-1641.
Shelby Taylor Trucking serves all your timberland needs in South Central Arkansas. With over 50 years in the industry, Shelby Taylor Trucking has established themselves as trustworthy leaders in the industry. From planting to harvesting to hauling your timber, Shelby Taylor Trucking is ready to serve you. Follow them on all social media platforms at Shelby Taylor Trucking. Learn more by visiting their website at staylortrucking.com. That's staylortrucking.com.
McCoy Tiger Drug Store of Sheridan, Arkansas has been the top pharmacy in all of South Central Arkansas since 1895. They were also the 2020 Good Neighbor Pharmacy of the Year. They not only fix you up with your prescription with timely and friendly service, but also an elite gift shop. All your OTC needs, baby and wedding registries, tuxedo rentals, and much more. They're located at 821 North Rock Street in Sheridan. Give them a call today at 870-942-5121.
Camelot Exteriors specializes in identifying hail, wind, and other storm damage, as well as residential and commercial roof installations and re-roofing. We use only the highest quality materials from certified suppliers while putting a lifetime labor warranty on all of our roofs. Our mission is to provide our customers with the highest quality roofing project customized to fit each one of their needs and to provide exceptional service through the entire process. Camelot Exteriors is based in Norman, Oklahoma, but we proudly currently serve 9 other states as a premier nationwide roofing company. So call us today at 833-799-7663 for your free estimate. Camelot Exteriors, your storm damage restoration experts.
And welcome back to the Hog Talk podcast, our first broadcast of 2023. And I want to take this time to thank our sponsor, Arkansas Brewing Company, at 201 South 1st Street in downtown Ozark, Arkansas. You can reach them at 479-667-2739. Go down and see Destiny and Chris Brockett. They had a big New Year's Eve celebration masquerade ball. They're always having bands and drinks, karaoke nights, great food, great drinks. Go down and check them out in Ozark if you're ever down that way. And also we have one of our newest sponsors. And I'll tell you what, Jacob, my wife went and got a tattoo up in Bella Vista. His name's Azteca Tapia. Arte_by_Azteca. This dude, I don't know if you had a chance to see it on our social media and stuff, but I'm telling you what, she got this half sleeve done, and the dude does amazing work. So if anybody is out there, you're in the mood to go get you a tattoo, look him up we got him on our Facebook and our Instagram. Look up his stuff, book online. He doesn't have a phone number, but I'm telling you, if you get a chance to look at his work, you're in the mood to get a tattoo. I'm going to get a couple from him. So really, really hit him up. But I really want to thank all of our sponsors who sponsored us in 2022 that will continue to sponsor us in 2023. Because like I said, without them and, of course, our viewers, our listeners, fans, this would not be possible.
And we're on year 5 now.
Yes.
2023, it makes 5th year. So, man, I've been on and off for, 5 years, but man, it's been a cool thing to watch this thing rise.
This is my 4th year continuously been doing it, and man, it's just crazy to think starting with an iPhone and Zoom. So, what we got now,
it's awesome.
Like I said, I'm very, very humbled, very, very blessed I'm blessed, like my wife, when we look for this house, hey, I would love to have a room. I could possibly have a studio. And that was one of the selling points when we looked for a home, that, hey, let's make sure that my husband has a spot to be able to make this thing grow. So big props to our sponsors, our wives, for continuously letting us do this every Sunday. And then, of course, with our women's show on Mondays and our preview shows that will continue, we're going to really transition into basketball with our preview shows. But I really want to touch on what we were talking about at the break. And you're talking about, with the coaching. But I really want to kind of not interject, but there is alarming things that makes you think, yes, we got the bad apples out, and look how Arkansas did against Kansas and stuff. But it really makes me wonder with the exodus of coaches at the time, and Barry Odom come in to really help Sam Pittman build this thing and set the foundation. And I've stated my thoughts on it and stuff like that. Also, I could see the reason maybe why Dow went to South Carolina. He, in his mind, was probably thinking that Kendall Browse would be at another job. He's going to be, in line to possibly take over the OC job. And he's been in the NFL before. He's not going to wait around at a college job. But I think that there was things that he might have felt that he was going to get that never kind of happened. So he went on to South Carolina. And then now I can understand, like, if Odom leaves, he takes people with him. But it's like, it does seem like a jumping ship deal. It does seem like, there's a major unrest or something like that at the program. Of course, again, like I told you before the break, I look at things differently than you or the fans look at things. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's some times where, how many times do we think, look at this year, how many times before the year fans were like 10-win season, then things kind of fall apart, but that's happened how many times? I remember when Chad Morris, it was either Chad Morris, one of the years Chad Morris was here, everybody was like 10-11 win season. And then, but I think it was his first year or something like that. He's going to come in and he's going to change the program and, pathway to 7 wins or 8 wins, and then, 2-2-10 seasons. And so you can't help but think, like, why – I'm looking at the domino effect. Why him leaving at that point to go coach at a place like UNLV? But I'm telling you what, dude, with him and Bobby Petrino, and then if he indeed gets, sure to come, I'm telling you what, he's building a little monster out there in Vegas.
Yeah. Like they may be the next G5 team that really starts to make noise. Yeah. All it takes – you got to build that staff, that initial staff. And I'm really interested to say if Barry, Barry brings on, has some issue with him, and Bobby tells him, you stay with the defense. I will do with the offense. Like, you stay out of my business, I'm going to stay out of yours.
You know what, though? He's like, hey, man, I seen what you did against us with the Missouri State. I'm going to let you have the offense. You know what I mean? You got to know. Why he'd be dumb not to at least get, whether Bobby Petrino said yes or no, or just be like, hey, man, I'm staying here in Missouri with my kids. You got to make that phone call. That's what people forget, oh, he did this and he did that. Yeah. But you know what? People make mistakes. We don't have to sit there and accept their mistakes, but we still can't sit there and be like, well, he doesn't never. Well, let's just put him in a jail cell. He don't need to be a coach at a Power 5 school again. Look what happened 12 years ago, So, but it makes you want to watch UNLV football next year as an Arkansas fan. Everybody, whether you're doing it out of spite, stubbornness, pettiness, you're going to be watching UNLV next year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I will be rooting for Bobby. Like, I want to see, they went 5-7 this year. I want to see what they bring in offensively and defensively, what they'll look like going into 2023. Because, coaching, you can, and we've seen it with Bobby. Like, he can take maybe a not a very good offense, like you think about back in 2008 when he took over at Arkansas. They were a run-oriented team, like they had just lost Dean Mack and Felix, and you had to depend on the Dick brothers to be your options at quarterback. Like that, I wish we could go back and have the transfer portal back then, because I think it would have been some crazy stuff going on back, 15 years ago. But, it kind of turns your head and makes you interested, like, all right, here's Bobby. He may be getting one more chance at to get back in the Power 5 game. What's he gonna do? And I think there's vested interest in Bobby Petrino, because he's still a hot topic. Just the same way that Gus and Houston still been hot topics over the years at Arkansas.
Well, I told you, I put him and Hugh Freeze in the same spot. You can take them out of the SEC, but you can't take their mind out of the SEC.
That's right.
You can't take their geniusness away from them. You can physically take them away from a football team, but they still have the mind. And I'm telling you, Hugh Freeze and what he can do and what Bobby Petrino can do at UNLV. They're offensive geniuses. And think about what they done at Liberty and what Bobby Petrino did at Missouri State. What are they going to do? And they got that fire. They got something still left in that tank, something to prove. What are they going to do? You put a coyote in a corner, they're one of the most dangerous animals out there.
And Barry wants to still prove himself too.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, yeah, he liked being the defensive coordinator at a Power 5 school, but you don't get as many chances to go out once you failed once as a coach. And I'm not saying he failed. He's 25 and 25 overall as a head coach. Like, and Missouri hasn't even had a winning season since they fired him. And, you know,
Yeah.
And Barry Odom wants another chance at the Power 5 job, and that was and Tulsa fell apart, which I thought would have been a very good landing spot for him. But you don't know but you see the coaching staff he's been able to put together. Now let's see what kind of roster he can make. He wants to prove himself, and you have to admire that in a guy.
Well, and here's the deal: Tulsa would be a death wish. Because you would have to go do something like Dion at Jackson State at Tulsa. You'd have to win 10, 11, 12 games multiple years in a row to get that attention, to get that love.
Yeah.
You go 7, 8 wins at Tulsa, whatever. You're that gnat flying around, go on.
Right.
But you'd have to win. You'd have to do what SMU was doing. You'd have to do what TCU's doing. What Boise State was doing back in the day. You would have to do something like that at Tulsa. You go to UNLV, you could go win 8, 9 wins and go to a respectful bowl game and start beating some of these teams and building that program up.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be in a little bit of a recruiting battle with Dion out there in Colorado. I think that's going to be one of his biggest challenges, how close they are to, competing with Colorado and stuff and those teams out there.
I see Dion kind of recruiting more nationally, though, and not kind of recruiting regionally, just because the Prime is just such a big name. Like, it still resonates
in that area. Yeah, he is nationally, but I'm talking about the top kids in that area who he might be able to get.
Yeah,
they might want to go to Colorado. But the point I was going to make is this: I think, in my mind, and this is just my opinion, outsider looking in.
Okay,
I think Barry Odom was content on coming to Arkansas. I think he was content on being Pittman's right-hand man, being a defensive coordinator for many years, sitting there, making and getting pay raises. Because Hunter Yurchek's good on giving people raises and giving them what they're worth. And I know you're not supposed to listen to all the people in your ears, but I think the fans talking about how trash the defense was, the fans constantly going in on this and that, not truly understanding what kind of depth it takes. You look at the linebackers that Arkansas's had and how beat up they've been. And by the end of the year, their shoulders are destroyed. The kids are, they want to go to the next level and they just physically can't because their shoulders are just so destroyed on when you're the leading tackler. And then what are you going to do at the next level? I think he was content until all the criticism started coming his way. And he's like, you know what? All right, I'm going to show you. I'm going to go find me a head coaching job, UNLV. You think I ain't got it? I'm going to bring in Bobby Petrino. I'm going to bring in this guy. I'm going to come in and take guys that you didn't think we can with, and I'm going to show you what we can do at UNLV. And I think that is what happened. And I'm not saying he's going to set the world on fire, by no means. But I don't think he is going to have a horrible tenure. I don't think he's going to do like a Chad Morris type deal. He might struggle for a few years, but still, he's going to make some noise. I'm telling you, you give him and Bobby Petrino 2 years to get that offense and that talent rolling, they're going to be a juggernaut.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're going to be up there with the Cincinnatis and the UCFs of the world if everything falls right and injuries and stuff like that, don't happen. And I think a lot of this year there is a culmination of things, and you've got to think of like your injuries. You lose your safety that you were dependent on again this year. Then you lose Miles Slusher throughout. So basically you're already down your 2 best safeties. And so you're playing Jaden Johnson and Kari Johnson and you're having to move Hudson Clark to safety. You're having to move Brini back a little bit. And then, it was just a product. Like, things were just spiraling out of control and defensively, and you couldn't recover. But, and a lot of that happened when the schedule was at its toughest.
Mm-hmm.
But as the season drew down, like it seemed like Arkansas's defense got better outside of the Missouri game, and with the Missouri quarterback just carving them up. Like they seem to had been getting better throughout the year. But
That's where
it doesn't change things. We can.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't understand why some fans and people can't get that grasp. Why does a team not play in the third and fourth quarter like they did in the first half?
Yeah.
You don't have the depth. You're out there. Look at college football today. You're running 70, 80, 90 plays a game.
Yeah.
It's not the days where you're lining up in a run formation and you're running 40 to 50 plays.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not. Those days are over.
Everybody's
You're
gassed.
completely having a first string, and that's all you got. I told you before the season, the thing that really worried me the worst was receivers and the depth on the defense when you needed that group of guys that could come in on third down or come in for a series. You don't have that. That is total, and that's the thing. Like, and you're playing in the toughest conference in the toughest division in all of college football, and you sit there and you're doing it with one string. You can't rotate guys in because we see what happens. Now you're the guys that you wanted to have in there are out. Now you're working with the second string. That's all your people that's left, second string. Who do you have behind that? And I think it frustrated him. I think it finally got to him and be like, okay, you think. And the funniest thing, I don't know who this jackwagon was, but the idiot that posted that we already needed to fire our new defensive coordinator because the way he was calling the Kansas game.
And he wasn't even calling the game.
No. And he got called out so quick. He got called out. But here's the deal. But Jacob, that is the scary thing.
People don't think.
Where we are as fans. They read the caption. They see 50 points on the board. Well, we need to go ahead and get rid of this DC. And it's funny. Everybody wants to jump on that. The mother of the commitment for what she said about what people are saying on social media. The dude hasn't even coached a game and he's getting crucified. But I know it's by one person. But if that's what you don't think in the era we live in that doesn't. Everybody's like, well, they shouldn't do that. They're getting paid all these men. Yeah, let somebody come to your job and yell at you. Let 5 people come on your chat rooms at work and start doing that. It affects them. You can't say, and no matter where we are, we're human beings. And I just thought that was the funniest thing. Like, dude, he couldn't type that fast enough on his couch. And everybody's like, he's not coaching the game, you idiot. It was just like, but that's where we are. That's the scary thing. You got people who can't think right, but they have the tools to say whatever they want to say.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, and we can go on and on about that, but we can switch gears to basketball for a little bit too. They came off that 3-point loss to LSU, 61-58. There was a lot of they shot 50% at the line. LSU shot 50% of the line. But you go 4 for 25 from 3. There was a limited turnovers just because of the pace of the game, the way it was played. There was a lot of things that, you just wish you didn't see in this life on the road in the SEC. But, you're without Nick Smith. You're without Trevor Brazile. You're used to that by now. You've got to find ways to win. And there's struggles outside the 3. And I'm tired of hearing people say, well, what about Pinion? What about him being a 3-point guy? Or what about Darian Ford and Dunning? Like, okay, they're true freshmen. And they're not going to play the minutes that you think they deserve, because their defense probably isn't up to par, and you're not going to play. You can be the best player in the world on offense, but if you're not a guy that can go out and give Musselman 20 minutes of good defense each half, you're not going to play. And that's the thing. That's why Musselman's rotation is so tight to 6 or 7 guys each and every night, because he knows what he sees in practice with his own very eyes. He knows if they're ready. He's coached in the NBA. He's coached in the D-Leagues. He's been at Arkansas. And he's shown what he's done with his rotations and stuff throughout the years. But people can't be acting surprised because he's not playing a guy that you think should get more minutes.
LSU's a hard place to play to begin with.
It always is.
And what other team Can you, like you said, with Nick Smith and Brazil being out, could you go out and predict still being an Elite Eight, Sweet 16 team? You're looking at the elite teams. So automatically Arkansas is in that elite company because they have the talent still to do it.
Yeah.
This is going to be a hot take, but I'm going to say it right now. I think the university, I think Nick Smith Jr., I think Eric Musselman, I think they need to piss or get off the pot with this Nick Smith Jr. situation. Either he's not going to play or he's coming back at a certain point. Because I'm telling you, it is hurting the team because guess what? We're not talking about what the team's doing. We're not talking about what Anthony Black's doing. We're not talking about Ricky Council. We're not talking about Devo Davis. We're not talking about Jordan Walsh. We're not talking about Mitchell. We're talking about what's Nick Smith Jr. status? What's Nick Smith Jr. doing? What's he doing? Is he playing tonight? And it's becoming a distraction.
It's the first thing that is on every single article. A recap, Porter, is Nick Smith didn't play tonight. Okay. We know he's out indefinitely. He was ruled out for the LSU game a week beforehand. That doesn't have to be in the first part of the article that you open up on the newspaper every morning. Like, I agree it's a distraction. I get tired of reading it too. We know Nick Smith didn't.
Point, though, we need to be, I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know any information of it. But if the decision is this kid's not going to play the rest of this year, we need to make that decision. We need to just come out and say it because it's going to turn a team that could potentially go to another Elite Eight, potentially go to a Final Four. It's going to start eating at them because the focus isn't going to be what are they doing? Where's Nick Smith at? And even if he does come back for a game, because it's not like the kid's been out all year and then we're still talking about it. He comes and goes and comes and goes. And I understand that there's an injury involved in this. I understand that. I'm not being, I'm not being sympathetic about that, but we need to either he's going to prepare for the draft or he is – so concerned about this knee. We don't know if he's going to be ready by this time. He's going to be back. We're going to try to prepare him for the SEC tournament or later on down the road. But I think there's going to come a time and point to where this is going to come back and bite this team in the ass if they don't make a decision on how they're going to handle this situation. Because this game-to-game situation, we're losing. We're going to start losing focus on the real point here of what this team's doing because they have the talent to go to an Elite Eight. Anthony Black has the talent and the scoring ability, every bit of him and Council and the defensive effort of Devo Davis. They have the talent to go to another Elite Eight, and you're going to hold them back. I'm not saying it's happening now. But it could turn into that situation.
Yeah, and I love what Anthony Black does. And I was talking with a friend of mine this afternoon that came by the house, and we were talking about Anthony Black, and he said, "You know what? I love Anthony Black. I'm glad that he decided to become a Razorback, but I wish he wasn't so unselfish. I wish we could get Maui Anthony Black every single night, a guy that." Yeah, they're missing players and stuff, but a guy that's assertive, a guy that wants to make the impact. And he was a difference maker in Maui. And he's still a difference maker on the court every single night. But I think he needs to be more assertive on offense and sometimes let the offense roll through him a little bit. I think he likes to share the ball too much. And that's not a bad thing.
But it's leading, what it's leading to 13 points from Ricky Council and 16 points from Devo Davis. It's not like he's not sharing these. I mean, Jordan Walsh had 13. Maybe that's what they need. They need a guy like he's off the team, but like JD Notae. As much as he carried the team and they needed a bucket, there were times where he needed to pass the ball more. I think that's what we're getting. Yeah. We're getting stuff out of Anthony Black that we wish JD Notae would have done. Because there's times where you're 0 for 8 and you can't, if this kid's doing good fundamentals, I would much rather tell him to keep those fundamentals other than teaching bad habits. Well, you need to be more aggressive with the ball because guess what? It's going to happen. He's going to go for an 0 for 8 situation, and he's still going to be shooting that ball because that's what's programmed in his brain. Well, I think, because like you look at the last game, 3 for 8, 0 for 3 shooting. So you want him to do more. So what you want, say, 6 for 12 and 0 for 6 from the 3-point line. I mean, that's what we're talking about, opposed to he had 4 assists, but like I said, he did have a -3 plus minus. But when you get 13 from Jordan Walsh, 13 from Council, 16 from Davis, you only got beat by 3. It ain't like you went down there and laid it back.
No.
But I understand his point because that's what we're used to seeing with Mason Jones and Note and Isaiah Joe. That's what we're used to seeing. But there's so much talent on this team.
Mm-hmm.
Sharing the ball and so Jordan Walsh is playing right now. I mean, he's playing really good basketball. Mitchell, I mean, I didn't expect that kid to come. I mean, he had 8 points, but he had 12 rebounds. So this team's all right. But I mean, I'm just saying, I'm saying what people. I don't think anybody. And I mean, I might be the only one with that thought. But I just think with this situation with Nick Smith Jr., we need to piss or get off the pot with it. He's injured and he's going to be out for a time. We can't keep on running this game by game situation anymore.
Yeah. And the only real big issue that I saw with the game the other night was not being able to adapt to what Trey Hannibal was doing. Like that guy, he wasn't good enough to play at South Carolina, transfers to LSU, averages 4 points a game this season, and just goes off on us. I say us, goes off on Arkansas. And I mean, he was like, it was drive after drive after drive over and over and over again on Wednesday night. And Arkansas had no answer for him. Like somebody, you were like, I don't think they were trailing. Like the guy was just out of this world. He's playing like over his head. It was just incredible to watch. And I admired it because that's the kind of fight that you wanted to have. And I mean, Arkansas was doing the same thing on the offensive end there. They just weren't getting the shots to fall at the basket. And that was the hardest part, hardest pill to swallow in that game.
Well, and the thing is, they only allowed 2 guys in double digits. I mean, it's not like, again, they laid an egg. I mean, Derek Fountain had 14 and Trey had 19, like you said. But here's another thing that is very promising when it comes to this team opposed to last year. They only hit 4 threes. It ain't like they're coming out there bombing threes on you. I mean, I know we're up on the hour, but I kind of like when we just keep free flowing with it. But, you held them to 40% from the field, 23% from the 3-point line. So, I mean, you did good. I mean, but LSU's 12-1. They've only lost 1 game.
They're not a bad team.
LSU team.
Yeah.
You have those teams just like Arkansas and Kentucky. You line Arkansas and Kentucky up from a talent perspective in the last 10 years, and Arkansas has a better chance of their chances against Kentucky as opposed to an LSU. And LSU could not have near the talent as Kentucky. It's just you've got those teams that you play for, you play up for, you have their number, and you play your best against them. LSU's a hard – when it comes to going to LSU, that's always been a hard place for them to play.
Yeah, and Arkansas is one of those teams that, they run their best offense on the fast break. I mean, they got outscored 8-7. That just shows you the difference in the flow of the game. Like LSU, they didn't allow Arkansas to get on runs. They controlled the paint, and I mean, Arkansas out rebounded them by 5 or 6. I think I'm trying to scroll back up here. And I mean, they played a really good game. Arkansas did. They just didn't hit the shots at key moments, and they struggled to hit shots at the free throw line. And when you're on the road, you have to hit shots. Defense travels. Like they play great defense, Arkansas does. But you've got to hit your free throws. Yeah. And that was the difference in the game.
Well, they got a 3-game stretch coming up. You got Missouri coming to you.
Missouri, but Alabama, and Auburn.
You got to go to Auburn, and then Alabama comes to you next Wednesday. So these next 3 games, I mean, you're going to use the Missouri game. You're going to play your butt off and play it like you're playing Auburn because you got to go to Auburn and it's a 7:30 tip-off time. It's not one of these 11 o'clock in the morning games or 2 o'clock CBS games. This is going to be a rocking. Kids are just going to be getting back from Christmas break. That's going to be a hard environment to go to. And then you get Alabama, that matchup we've been waiting for, January 11th inside Bud Walton Arena at 6 o'clock. But Jacob, I mean, what from here on out, this is mainly what we're going to be on. Football's over with, and I know we have not hardly talked anything about the basketball team, but we got basketball season right around the corner. Then we're going to be starting to talk about some baseball. We're still going to have our Monday. I have Coach Jordan Weaver on from the Arkansas gymnastics team tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. So tune in tomorrow for that. But really looking forward to jumping into SEC season with this basketball team, showing us what they got. But Jacob, I'll let you have the final words before we cut it off.
Yeah, guys. Hey, it's year 5. I do appreciate y'all, everybody. I mean, that's listened to us from the beginning, the people that we picked up along the way. Y'all have kept this thing going. I mean, Facebook, our Facebook page just has so many followers, and we have so many comments on every single post. And I try to get to some of them, but there's a lot of stuff that floats around on the Facebook page. I want to thank all the fans. Subscribe to our podcast on Apple, iTunes, or whatever you call it these days, Apple Podcasts. Leave us a kind review, maybe even give some star rating power there, and maybe share, tell your friends about us. I mean, there may be some people that hadn't heard about us before, so there might be, but just share us, share our content with everybody, whether it's through stories or our written content or listening content. Thank you all for the continued support, and we know 2023 is going to be a great year.
Yes, Happy New Year to everybody. 2023. If you got your New Year's resolutions, we put it out there to pick your New Year's as resolution for the football team. So keep those rolling in. But for myself, Porter Hayes, Jacob Davis, we will catch you tomorrow night on the weekly Women's Sports Report. This is another episode of the Hog Talk Podcast presented by Arkansas Brewing Company and Bet Online.
Go Hogs.